Hi all, welcome to JS Frameworks channel. So today we will be taking a look into what is a web component and what are the different constituents that make a web component and how we can build a web component from the scratch using JavaScript. Web component is a collection of techniques which can be used to create custom reusable elements with their functionalities encapsulated away and which can be used in our web applications. So this can be implemented using plain JavaScript as well as any JavaScript frameworks like Angular or React. So the main components which constitute a web component are the custom elements, the shadow DOM, and reusable HTML templates with templates like that template and the slot tags. So let's take a look into custom elements, which is the first component of a web component. So custom element is basically a new HTML tag which we can create. This can be done by creating a new tag and registering it with the custom element registry which is available in the browser. So let us see how we can create a custom element using plain JavaScript. So for this purpose we will be using ES6 JavaScript, and I have created an HTML file here with reference to the JS file. So the first step in creating a custom element is we need to define a class. So I am giving the class name as my custom element. We need to extend the HTML element tag if we want to create a custom element. So we need to call the constructor of the class and call the super function. And there are many life cycles which are available for the custom elements. So some of them are connected callback, disconnected callback, attribute changed callback. So we'll take a look how or when these are getting called. So let's add some logs in these methods just to see the sequence of how it is getting called. So I am adding a log in the connected method, in the disconnected method. I'm also adding a console here in the constructor. And the attribute changed callback, actually this accepts three parameters. So these are the name, old value, and the new value. So we'll add a console here also. So we can give like the name changed from old value to new value. And the last step for registering the custom element is custom elements dot define the tag name of my custom element and the class name. So that's it. So our custom element should be ready. Now we can just add it as a tag in our HTML file. Now let's see what happens. So I have taken the file and refreshed it. So as you can see, the constructor got executed as well as the connected callback is executed. So the first place we can get a reference to our custom element is the connected callback. So let's create a element reference variable here. And I need to add an ID here so that I can use the DOM queries. I added an ID and I am querying it. Get element by ID, and let's see how the disconnected callback works. So I'm adding a timeout here, and I'm adding a handler here. Inside the handler, so what I'm doing is just element ref dot remove, and I will execute this after a time of 3 seconds. So let's see what happens. So after 3 seconds, the disconnected callback is called. Now let's take a look at the third callback. That attribute has changed callback. So let us add an attribute here. So I am naming it as attribute 1, and I am giving an initial value. Let's go here and create 2 more timeouts. So here we will be setting the attribute one more time through JavaScript. So here using set attribute 1 to attribute, and after 2 seconds again we are changing. We'll be creating a new one instead of changing. So we'll be creating a new attribute, and let's see whether the callback is executed. So as you can see, the attribute changed callback has not been called. The reason for this is that we need to explicitly define the list of attributes which need to be observed by the JavaScript. So what we need to do is we need to add a static method here. So this should return a list of attributes which need to be watched. So we have given attribute 1 and attribute 2. Now let's see what happens. So you can see that the attribute changed callback is getting executed, and it will show the old value as well as the new value. One main disadvantage of using the HTML attribute is that we can pass only text values into the custom element. So let's see what happens when we try to pass a complex object. So I am passing a complex object here, and we will add one more console here just to make sure that we get the correct new value. So I have added the log and refresh the application. So here we can see, like, even though I passed a complex object, the value that is received within that is just a stringified version of that. So in many scenarios we might need to pass complex data to a custom element. So in this case, in such cases we make use of the properties. So it's a DOM property. So let's DOM property is nothing but property of a custom element instance. So we will add a property, for example prop1, and we give some value. Now in the attribute change callback, let's add a log. We'll check whether the element reference is available, and if it's there we will just log the prop1. So let's see whether the property is available within the custom element. So yeah, as you can see, the complex object which we had passed into the custom element is available there. So next we will be taking a look into the Shadow DOM. Shadow DOM is the part of web component which handles all things related to encapsulation. It hides the HTML, the CSS styles, and the implementation of the web component. So let us see Shadow DOM in action. So I am commenting out the element removing portion, and I will just refresh the page. So you can see, like, currently the custom element which we had created, it does not have any children, any nodes inside that. So let us add some shadow DOM. So it is quite easy to create the shadow DOM. There is an inbuilt API exposed in JavaScript. So this is the attach shadow method. So let us create a constant, and we can provide the mode in which the shadow DOM is attached. So let us give it as open. So we will I'll give more details about the different types open and closed in a short while. So um, let us create a wrapper element. Create element of type div, and we can set the inner text as inner div, and also set attribute a CSS class as center, and let us attach the wrapper to the shadow DOM. So I have added it here. Now let us go to the application and refresh it. So you can see that inner div has been created, and let us go inspect the element. So you can see that there is an element called shadow root, and its mode is shown as open, and inside that we have a div with the class center and the inner text as inner div. Okay, so let us go to the HTML part, and here in the main index.html I have given some styles. So for all the divisions I have set the color as red, and also in the class center class I have given the text align center and the font size as 5em. So in case of a normal div, so I am adding one more div here, and I am naming it as another outer div, and I am just refreshing the page. You can see that the style has been automatically applied to the outer div, but when you consider the shadow DOM, the outer style has not been applied to the shadow division which is inside the shadow DOM. So this is one major advantage of using shadow DOM. And but in case we use shadow DOM within a div, I'm adding one more div and giving the class as center and moving this to inside the parent div. Now let's see what happens. So you can see that the shadow DOM has inherited the styles from within the parent uh, division. So this is one area where you need to be careful while using shadow DOM. And let us inspect the shadow root one more time. So there are some terms which you need to know regarding the shadow DOM. So one of the term is the shadow host. So a shadow host is a element which is present in the light DOM, that is outside the shadow DOM, and which will act as the parent for the shadow root. So in our case the shadow host is my element, and Another term is the shadow root. So it is the starting point of the shadow DOM. All the elements which are present uh, inside this shadow root are called the shadow tree. We saw that there is a chance of the shadow DOM elements inheriting some styles from the parent DOM. So it is always recommended to encapsulate some the styles which are utilized by the shadow DOM within itself. So let's create a style element. So I'm adding document.create element. This time type style, and I'm adding the inner HTML as here, and I am giving the color as blue here, and I am resetting the font size. Now let us add this style also to the shadow DOM, and let's see what happens. So you can see that the style which has been encapsulated within the shadow DOM got applied to that, and this is always the recommended way. While creating the shadow DOM, we had provided an option like the mode with value as open. So this is the most commonly used mode while creating a shadow DOM. So let us see what's the difference between the mode open and the mode closed. So we have created the shadow DOM using open. So in the first set time mode where we are setting the attribute, let us add a log and try to display there is a variable called shadow root. So this is basically the shadow root which we had seen earlier. Now let's see what will be displayed in the console. So you can see that it is possible to access the shadow root and its children from uh, outside the custom element also. Thus the shadow root can be modified uh, from outside the custom element. So in case you want to prevent this, you can use the mode as closed. And now let's try what is happening. So you can see that the shadow root variable has been set to null. So this way you cannot modify the shadow root from outside the custom element. But there is a workaround, like if we define a property shadow root and set the shadow root variable with the value shadow and refresh the page again, you can see that the shadow root is still available outside. In this way, there is not much difference between the mode open and mode closed. So it is recommended that you use the shadow mode as open. So now let's move to the third component of creating a web component, that is the reusable templates. We can make use of templates for creating reusable HTML elements. So template is basically an HTML tag in which we can put our HTML reusable tags. So I am going to create a p tag and I am going to put the name. Then I am going to create a label and I am going to give some value. I am duplicating the same and I am giving an ID for this. So I will go on remove all the element creation logic from my JS. I will also copy this style tag and put it inside the template. we have commented everything. Now all we need to do is attach the template in our HTML. So as you can see, even though we have defined the templates here, when I try to refresh here, the template will not be rendered in the HTML. So this is because even if we define a template, it won't be shown in the HTML until we actually attach it to the DOM manually. So I will show you how it is done. You can go to the JS. So here we get a reference to the template using document.getElementById and giving the template ID here, and we attach it to the shadow. We make a clone of the content of the template before doing so. And also we will make some slight adjustments in the HTML. We'll add the class here. Now if we look into the template, we will go and refresh it. You can see that our custom element has been displayed here, and you can reuse the element again. Like if we create a clone, it will again create the same element, and this is how a web component is created. So as you can see, even though we have created a web component, this component has limited usage because the same data will always be rendered again and again. So suppose we want to customize the data which is shown in the name and the price field, we can make use of the slot tag. So I will show you how it can be done. Let's see how a slot tag can be created. So I am going to create a slot tag here with the name as name, and I put the label inside the slot. So I will explain why we are doing this in a minute. Slot name, we can give us price here. Okay, so whatever we give inside the slot, it is like a placeholder. So I will show you, like in the initial my element instance, we are not passing anything inside the tag. So in this case, the default value which we have given here, that is the Netflix, and the price which we have given as 1000, it will be displayed by default. Now we can also override these values using this method. So we can provide a label here, and if we give the slot name and we give some value here, it will be overwritten here in the web component. And also the price, since we didn't give any value, it will take the default value from the slot itself. So if I give something, the name as price, and I'm giving 500, it will be reflected here. So this is how we combine templates and slots to create reusable HTML templates. And thus we have covered all the major constituents of the web component. So hope it helped. If you like our videos, please subscribe so that you will be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thank you.